Hi guys, welcome back to my channel LoveViakada, and this is another episode of last episode of Film Notes, which was the last week's video. We talked about Chief Daddy 2 going for broke, which was a lot. It was really a mess. You can go check it out. Yeah, on today's episode, we're going to be talking about Bruno. We don't talk about Bruno. Okay. I've had. We don't talk about Bruno. Surely we can talk about Encanto and the characters in Encanto. And today I just want to talk about the things we can learn from Encanto and his characters. Life lessons that we can take to heart and say, yeah, he really taught me that. So Encanto is a very lovely, beautiful animation. I like to say I'm a very big fan of animation. Back to Encanto. Why are we digressing? So yeah, Encanto is a very lovely movie. I think it came out 2021 or was it 2022? Ah, yes, it's 2021. Yeah, I know it came out and it literally broke the internet and won so many awards. Like that's how good the movie was. And the soundtrack of the movie was just I have my favorite soundtracks in the movie, which is We Don't Talk About Bruno, of course, and Those Regrettas. Those Regrettas is like my favorite. I actually love that music, even if I don't really understand the words. I made a note of all the things that I love and all the things that I've learned from Encanto. There are actually going to be spoilers. I won't really tell you the story, how the story went, but of course they're going to be spoilers because for me to be able to tell you this life lesson that I have learned from Encanto, you really have to spoil the movie for you. So if you haven't watched the movie, you can go and watch it and come back, or you can just watch the video and then go and watch the movie. Yeah, just saying. So yeah, let's get right into it. Abuela was pressured into, she had this whole thing to be able to keep the miracle, to keep the people safe, to make sure the candle keeps burning. There was a lot of pressure from Abuela, there was a lot of pressure on the children with the gifts to be able to serve the community well. And I think the song Surface Pressure, which is also one of my favorite, I forgot, which was sung by Luisa, can actually tell you how difficult it is to be able to work with such responsibility. Just with the pressure of family can be a whole lot, especially when this family is given this sudden responsibility to be the protector of this beautiful Encanto. A lot to take in, and I think I can understand from where Abuela was coming from. This was somebody who lost her husband and in the process got this miracle. She took that responsibility on herself to be able to provide for the people who have followed her, provide for her children, to protect her children, not to lose her children. I see it actually affected the relationship between her children and her grandchildren, and I could actually relate with her because there's a lot of things that you just take responsibility for because it's somehow the right thing to do, and you're pressured and you're trying to be able to make it up, never to fail, and the rest of it. So that pressure, I think that actually for me will be the key thing in this movie. The pressure was what was finally dividing the Madrigal family, to be honest, because the family was going through it, and that's reflected to our society too. There's a lot of pressures to being a mom, being a student, being a content creator, being a writer, being anything you think you want to be. Trust me, the pressure can be so overwhelming. For the first part of the movie, I never liked Isabella. I was like, oh god, this girl. And you could see my disgust from Mirabel's point of view. Of course, Mirabel was so disgusted by the I'm perfect, the flowers. And I could actually understand my Mirabel. When you'll be put in this box where you're not really, you don't really have a gift, or there you see someone who throws it right in your face, it can make you kind of feel envious about the whole situation. But that scene where Mirabel was supposed to go and apologize, or was looking for an embrace from Isabella after her proposal was messed up by the whole miracle falling apart and the rest of it. And Mirabel called her selfish. It kind of triggered her. I mean, that at that point kind of show how the character had developed into something that we weren't expecting. Meaning that it's not all about what we see. This was a girl who was forced to be perfect, who had this pressure of being perfect, who was being expected to do all these things, especially by her grandmother Abuela. So you can actually learn something. Even for ourselves, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to be perfect. You want to be perfect about the angle you take this shot. You want to be perfect about what you publish. You want to be perfect about your writing. You want to be perfect about every single thing of your life. And I think in that sense, Isabella grew into herself and actually appreciated her imperfections. It seems she was trying to hide this part of her. After she went through that outburst and she was able to, feel what she was supposed to feel, I think that was the essence of the character Isabella. She was all about the flowers, the beautiful flowers. But you see, at the end of the day, she was busting colors. She was bringing out tones. It was something. It was actually a beautiful thing to see, and it kind of made me feel like, oh yeah, you don't have to be perfect in everything. I know the pressures and when people expect you to be this particular way can be, especially if you're even a public figure or you're someone like a sort of influencer. Yeah, it can be a lot to be this perfect. Oh, don't you ever be human in life. It can be a lot. So yeah, that's one good thing I know I've learned from Encanto. Oh, Louisa. Louisa was like an embodiment of what I feel as an older sister. Yeah, I think it was something that reflected to all older sisters, mothers, caregivers, a whole lot of things. It was actually a beautiful trend on TikTok and on Instagram Reels. In an article I read, she wanted to carry this proverbial weight of the world, which didn't make any sense because at the end of the day, you can't be able to carry the world on your shoulders. And you could see that even in the movie, she was the one who was affected most by the miracle because she was always expected, or she always expected herself to be the strong person, to be able to protect the family, to be able to protect this because of this was what she was given to do. So it was beautiful to see in Louisa, even at the end of the movie, whereby she was still trying to take all the burdens, and the little boy Antonio just told her, come on, relax, have fun. And I think that's the idea of everything we need to able to look at. It's not, you can't be strong all the time. Trust me, you're allowed to feel vulnerable, you're allowed to relax, you're allowed to cry, you're allowed to, you're allowed to be whatever you're feeling, as far as you're not hurting yourself or any other person. Yeah, that's the key word there. Trust me, for a long time I always thought crying was a sign of weakness. For someone like me who hates confrontation or hates being in this kind of fights or quarrel with someone, I always have this sudden lump in my throat when I'm having some kind of argument or when I'm very angry and I cry. I always feel like the next person thinks I'm weak. I always feel so weak about the whole thing. I try to suppress this emotion. You can see it almost bursting through. And I think the perfect example in that sense as a character was Pippa. Pippa was someone who was always having a lot of emotional outburst. She was a very emotional person. She was always told to, keep it down, your cloud. It was okay for her to have a cloud all over her head. It was okay for you to cry. It's okay for you to show emotion. She was a warrior. Pippa was a warrior. She was someone who was so anxious about every little thing. People who are anxious or people who are suffer from anxiety, we always told, keep it in check now. Now, why you be? Now, why you do like a smoker? Why you do like a child? Are you a child? Those kind of little jabs can be a bit hurtful, and you're forced to keep in all these emotions, never to show these emotions. Even when someone does something to you, you're trying to keep it in because you don't want to be some kind of way to other people. And I think that's something I'm trying to learn, trying to be more assertive with what I'm feeling, not in a rude way, of course, but more in a very vocalized way to tell you how I'm feeling or how this or what you did hurt me, even though I am still used to keeping things in my mind, not like bad thing or just like, but I think in the sense of I don't really want issues with this person, so let me just let it go. But I think it's better for you to show your emotions, tell people how it is. And people have this weird, or we as humans have this weird thinking, including me though, that vulnerability is something that shows your weakness. Vulnerability equates your weakness. But I think as I've come to grow older in life, I think I've understood that vulnerability doesn't mean that you're weak. Vulnerability doesn't mean that you're not strong enough or whatever the word it is right now. But I think vulnerability is something that, showing your emotions, showing how raw they can be, how you feel at the moment. And I actually appreciate people who are always so blunt with their emotions. I always envy them because it's not something that's so easy to do. But I think people as a person, I can say I relate to almost all the characters because they kind of make an embodiment of how I feel sometimes, always trying to keep emotions. Don't let people see you cry. Don't let people see your pain. Don't let it's a lot. And seeing people as a character, finally grow into, as at the ending she was playing with her snow, dancing with her snow, and I actually love her husband, Felix, who was actually a very good support. And I think that's one thing people who suffer from this, or people who not really suffer, but people who are always anxious or have these emotions too, sure, actually need people who tell them, don't worry, I told you not to worry, don't worry, everything's going to be all right. I think that's something that I actually love Felix for. And Felix is one of my favorite characters. I love all the characters in the Encanto because they were all so beautiful to watch. And see, I'm trust me, there's something I have a weak point for. And when it comes to movies that talk about families, animation that talk about families, I'm a very big fan of family themed drama. When you see family, I'm big on family. So I think that's why I relate more to all these kind of movies that talk about family, unity. I'm big on family. So yeah, that's why maybe, I guess. I think this one will entail both Bruno, Mirabel, and also Abuela. Now, I'll start with Abuela. Abuela was someone who was so scared of the future. In as much as you don't see it, but she was scared because she was so scared of if she lost this miracle, if she lost this gift, if she lost this, what would happen if she wasn't able to keep this miracle? That was what she was so worried. Even when Mirabel didn't get her powers in one of the scenes where she told Bruno to look into the future to see what it was. And Bruno, out of the fear of what the future told, had to leave. I think that was the worst part of it because he was so scared of letting the mother know what the future was, because for some reason, in as much as she didn't really appreciate Bruno's gift in that sense of seeing the future and its truth, I think because of the fear of what it may be, and in some warped way, they all thought that whatever Bruno saw in the future was always a bad thing, which was not really what it was. I mean, you could see from Mirabel that just because he was so scared of what the future would, he couldn't even finish his visions to the end to see that at the end of the day it was actually a good thing. You understand? So I think that was something that I actually took from, because trust me, I'm always overwhelmed by the future. I'm always overwhelmed by what will happen in the next 10 years, the next 5 years, the next 2 years. Will I have my children? Will I be married? Will I marry a man who beats me up? Will I marry this? How does my content creating go? Will I make it big? Will I become a billionaire? What is happening? What happened to my brothers, my sisters? It's a whole lot. Trust me, I think about this, and overthinking can be a whole lot of mess. So we're always so scared about the future and its truth. In as much as we don't know what the future holds, we are so scared about what ifs the future doesn't hold. And you can see it reverberate throughout the movie, on the sense of we don't talk about Bruno, we don't talk about Bruno. Of course we'll talk about Bruno. Bruno was someone who told the visions, and the visions were true because that was what the future, just as he said, you can't hurry the future. And in that sense, you can't hurry the truth. You can't say, oh, you want to change the truth, you want to change the future, and you castigate someone for telling you the truth as it is. They didn't want to hear the truth. That was why they had all these bad things to say about Bruno, though not all of them. They had this bad, oh, don't talk about Bruno because he told me this, he did that. They always thought, oh, that the gifts that were given to the Madrigal family was always about helping the people, always about, I think the brutal truth they all had was that Bruno wasn't all about helping. He was all about telling you the truth to your face, telling you your future of how everything is going to play out. And so I think that was what the family members and the village or town as a whole. So yeah, Bruno, what wasn't his fault that he saw what he saw. Hello, it's the future. He just saw it and he gave it to you. you know so yeah, but I can understand the feelings about Bruno's powers, because if you always saw my power, you always saw something bad. I'm gonna have some kind of things I can see. But that's me. That's just the human mind. Trust me, that was just the human mind. But I think they all came to accept Bruno for what he was, and yeah. I am guilty of assuming the worst. Trust me. If I meet a person, okay, for example, if I meet a guy The first thing that thinks my might be a violent man, he might be a this, he might be a cheater. There are a lot of things that goes through my mind when I meet this person. How have you killed someone? Have you done something? And we always have these stereotypes when it comes to people. You know, when you assume the worst of people, you have this stereotype of what you think they are or what you think they are not, and then you judge them based on that. And you're not judging them based on the good parts you think they have, you always judge them based on the worst things. Or maybe they had one experience like that and then you judge them based on that experience. It's not really a very nice thing to do, trust me. And I think that was what everybody in Encanto actually did of Bruno. So I think that was why he was so scared to look into the future more, and also tell Abuela what he saw, and then left. So you could see that when people assume the worst of you, it can actually be a lot on your mental health, trust me. Especially those who have gone through rumors in school or done a lot of things, and people just judge them because they are one thing or a particular of their lifestyle doesn't suit the in societal norms. I've talked about this many times in my channel, and that is one thing I hate about the world as it is. You know, when one thing happens to you, they judge you based on that thing. You know, that's why I'm not really a big fan of first appearance matters in that sense. Though I'm also a big fan. I'm more on the fence on that ideology, because it doesn't always, because when you get to know people, you know, I've met people who on their first experience were like, whoa, never, and I got to know them and I was like, oh, she's so perfect, he's so perfect. So yeah, it happens. I have a theory about the Encanto movie. So now, the miracle was given to the Madrigal family, you know, in sense of protecting them. It was out of love that the miracle was born. You know, he sacrificed his life to be able to protect these people. That's Abuelo Pedro, the grandfather of Mirabel. He gave his life at that river for his children, his wife, and the other people, right? And out of that, the miracle was born. Now, the miracle gifted them with these gifts to all her children, gifted them the casita, gifted them the Encanto. Now, to show that this was built in love. Now, the miracle feeling was all about, because there was no love again in the family, whether you like it or not. There was no love again in the family, and that, I think, it all started from Mirabel, when Mirabel lost her powers, even though her powers has always been about uniting the family. Her powers has always been her family. I think Mirabel's powers was all about the family. She was the basis of this miracle, in the sense that out of love, I think the miracle just wanted to teach Abuela a lesson, in the sense that she was so scared of holding tight, you know, not letting go, always putting this so much pressure on her children, that they all became about their gifts. There was no love again. It was all about the gifts, all about the gift. The miracle decided, okay, I'm going to give you somebody to give you a test. And in as much as the miracle didn't really portray really what Mirabel's powers, even at the end we knew that, okay, Mirabel's powers is the casita itself. She was the miracle. She was someone who Abuela prayed for, to help her to carry this family along and carry the burden of this responsibility and the rest of it. So if you notice, each time Mirabel was feeling sad or feeling left out or feeling some kind of way, that was when the casita always had issues. Even during Antonio's celebration after he got his gifts, the house had issues. It started cracking. Even when Mirabel was being so anxious about the powers breaking, the house started breaking. So there are a lot of instances to show that, of course, that this house was the miracle itself. The power of family was what Mirabel's power was all about, keeping the family together, reconciling the family, you know, trying to let Abuela know that it's not always about the powers, that these people are more than their powers, they are more than their gifts. It was all about the love for each of the family. That was what brought this miracle for them in the first place. Because Bruno left, you know, and then, you know, I think that was the idea of what the miracle was trying to teach Abuela and her children and her grandchildren, in the sense that love was at the core of the miracle, the reconciliation. Because I promise you, if Bruno has looked further, he would have seen that reconciliation was also supposed to be between Mirabel and the grandmother, because the grandmother had some animosity towards Mirabel, which was because, okay, you don't have any powers, why are you away, and the mother of Mirabel actually always told her that she's always too hard on Mirabel, try to give her some credit, try to make her feel among, because it was, so you could see how the miracle was trying to, teach Abuela a lesson. At the end of the day, we actually saw what it was. After they reconciled, they understood that, okay, it was not all about the powers, it was all about the love. And that was something that actually created a new foundation for the family, a reconciliation, creating a new foundation for the miracle to uphold. You could notice that the candle was not needed anymore, because at the end of the day, that reconciliation of love, Mirabel bringing the family back together, reconciling the family together, was what brought the miracle back. The reconciliation for love. And that was so beautiful. Did you enjoy my story? And lastly, it's all about appreciating the sacrifice. Now, the people of the Encanto were so dependent on the gifts of the madrigal, which was, of course, what it was. But I think they were so dependent on the gifts of the madrigal that they were also so scared, and the pressures of everything just made Abuela always keeping a strong face and telling them nothing's wrong with the miracle, this, that. I said at the end of the day, they actually understood that it was not about the miracle, that they could do something together, they could appreciate. And I love how they were all able to come together to be able to build the casita, even if it wasn't perfect. I mean, it was what the movie was all about. It wasn't perfect. That was the unity there, reconciliation and appreciating the sacrifices of Encanto. And I think that was just a beautiful movie. And maybe they built the house and Mirabel opened the house, the casita came back to life. Did I tell you that Casita is my favorite character? Yeah, everybody's my favorite character in this movie. So yeah, Encanto is such a beautiful movie, and there are so many theories online. I went into a rabbit hole of so many theories about Encanto, and they were so beautiful that I even missed out some scenes because I didn't notice that. But people, oh my god, you guys are so talented. How did you guys notice those little things? Wow, there are a lot of them. You need to go on your own search to find those, just as I did mine. See, Encanto is a movie you can watch over and over and over again. See, my people are tired. I've watched that movie up to 1,000,000 times. So if you did enjoy this video, like this video by giving it a thumbs up, and you feel like joining this LoveViakada family where all things good happen, subscribe. You can follow me at LoveViakada on all social media platforms, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you want to find me. I'm always there at LoveViakada. So yeah, and see you guys next Monday. Bye.